Hello, and welcome to another edition of Coffee Talk with immigration attorney Brian D. Lerner. In this particular episode, I'd like to talk about a type of visa that is not as popular as the other type of visas, but because of the way that the other visas many times are being used up, and because not a lot of people seem to know about this type of visa, it basically has the uh, type of item that people like and that is available to certain professions that are not available to any of the other types of visas. So, what type of visa am I talking about? It's called the P visa. P is in Paul, okay? And a lot of times, like I say, when H-1Bs are used up and, when you don't quite qualify for the O and when you don't have money to invest with the E and when you don't want to go to school with the F, the P might be an option. So basically, look at it like this. If you are an athlete or you're an entertainer, you're in a group type situation, the P would be available possibly to you. Now, what exactly is the P? Well, for persons who perform as an athlete, okay, individually or part of a group, or a team that is internationally recognized, or for a person who performs with an or is an integral part or an essential part of an entertainment group, and they are recognized internationally as being outstanding. And there's all different kinds of ways that we can try to prove this, and all different kinds of items that I would need in order to submit the P. But if you're in a group and you can't get into the U.S. on any other means, or you're an athlete, again, you can try the P. So essentially, the P for athletes, for example, are good for athletes whether you are a professional or not, who performs at an internationally recognized level of performance. Now, the other part of an athlete is an amateur athlete or coach of sports teams in the U.S. that are members of a foreign league or association. Okay? If the foreign league or association is at the highest level of the amateur performance of that sport in that particular country, and participation renders the athlete ineligible for U.S. scholarships under NCAA rules. Okay, and finally, a significant number of the players in the league are actually drafted into major league or minor league teams affiliated with them, or a professional or amateur ice skater who performs individually or as part of a group theatrical production. So a lot of subsections that I just quoted for you there, but basically, if you're, let's say, you're into rowing and you're at the top of your particular field in rowing, and let's say that if you come into the U.S., will no way near be at the top, but that doesn't really matter, because in order for you to properly come here on the P visa, you just have to meet those requirements as they exist essentially in your home country. Now, what about if you're not an athlete? What if you're an entertainment group? Well, again, the P visa is open to you. You need to be basically an entertainment group, or, as I stated, an athletic team. You can have literally as few as 2 people and still qualify. And if you are a solo artist or entertainer, traditionally, that you perform with backup singers or musicians, there are ways also that you can qualify for the P as well, although the solo artist must qualify as an O1, which that's a subject for another video. Now, just so you know, internationally recognized means a high level of achievement, which is evidenced by a degree of skill and recognition substantially above that ordinarily encountered due to the extent that it is renowned, leading, or well known in more than one country. Well, there's lots of interpretations as to what that means. So, you might be sitting there going, well, I'm not internationally recognized. No way I can qualify for this. But the definition of it really brings that bar down a bit as far as what you need to show in order to qualify under that particular element. Now, there are ways of actually waiving the international recognition and the 1 year prior relationship with the group in some cases. Okay, and if you basically really want to come in on the P and you just haven't been with your particular group for that long, go ahead and send me off an email and I'll give you the specifics on what might be necessary in regards to that. Now, another area, if you happen to be in a circus, okay, they are automatically exempt from the international recognition and 1 year requirement, provided that they are joining a circus with sustained national recognition. So, if you happen to be in a circus with any country who's well known basically in that country, the P visa is good for you. Okay. Now, coming in on the P, obviously you need to seek and want to enter temporarily and for the purpose of performing in the competition, the event, or the performance. Okay. So obviously you might be able to go visit Disneyland while you're here, but that can't be the primary purpose of why you are coming in. So everything I just discussed falls under the P1 category. Okay, so P1, athletes and group entertainers. That's where all of that falls under. Now, normally when you have a visa designation, if you put a 2 or 3 after it, it's for derivatives or dependents, but it's a little different here. P2 is for reciprocal exchange program. Okay, and what that means is a P2 status can be accorded to an artist or entertainer individually or as part of a group who will perform under a reciprocal exchange program between an organization or organizations in the U.S. and one or more foreign organizations, which provides the temporary exchange of artists, entertainers, or groups. So if you happen to, love doing ballet type thing, and you are with a group that has some connection with the U.S. group doing the same thing, but the U.S. sends some people over to your country and you send some people over to our country, then the P2 would certainly be an option for you. Now, another option, another category would be what's called the P3. Now, P3 falls under what is known as the culturally unique program. Okay, so what is that? P3 status can be accorded again to an artist or entertainer individually or as part of a group to perform, teach, or coach in a culturally unique program of a commercial or non-commercial nature that will further the understanding or development of the art form. Okay, so this is really wide open because obviously in your country you have lots of culturally unique situations, artists, entertainers, groups, and all of them essentially would be able, if it falls under this category, would be able to qualify to come in on a P3. Now keep in mind, you can be an individual or a group, either one, if you can come in under the come in under a P3. Now, again, what is considered culturally unique and how we can make creative arguments as to whether it is or it isn't, again, give me an email or a call, and I will let you know what is necessary and if it's doable to get a P3. Now, another one is the essential support personnel. What happens if you have a group, and let's say you have, let's say you're a singing group, and you have the people who set up the lighting, the people who set up the stage. There's ways of determining who is an essential personnel, but if you are an essential personnel of either the P1, the P2, or the P3, then you can also apply for a visa on this category. Now, what about spouses and children, okay, of all the essential personnel or anyone under a P1, P2, or P3? They get what's called a P4 designation, okay? And a P4 designation will allow them to come as well. Now, how long will the P1 last? Well, you can actually come in for 5 years. Okay, it's one of the few visas that actually allows more than 3 years to come in, assuming that you meet all the requirements. And then after that 5 years, you can actually submit an extension for another 5 years. So that basically is 10 years altogether that you can come in on P visas. And of course, there's ways of getting petitioned other ways once you're here. But coming in on the P1, P2, or P3 is certainly an option for people who may not qualify for lots of other types of visas. And there's other requirements and more specific requirements that I'll go into in other videos, but this is just to give you a taste of what is possible on the P visas and how you will be able to come in. So if you like the video, click like, subscribe, and go ahead and email me if you have questions, and then we can go from there. More on the coming videos.